My name's Eileen, and my last name is Street, which means it's in my blood to be on the road, or sometimes on the snow, because I love being active. Visitors will be impressed by timeless architecture and sculptures, like this one, that was created by the same artist who designed President Abraham Lincoln's memorial statue. The House's longest-serving member, John Conyers, is under fire for sexual harassment, and a second woman has come forward accusing Senator Al Franken of misconduct. In the last 48 hours, 8 inches of snow here at Dodge Ridge Ski Resort. But the lodge is pretty empty. We saw maybe about 50 vehicles in the parking lot. And even though it's a beautiful day, the chairlift, really no lines, nobody going up the mountain. And then if you look behind me at the slopes, skiers, snowboarders, not many to be found. It's no secret that Americans love bacon. So when you're here, you have to try Devil's on Horseback. Dates wrapped in bacon, smothered in curry orange marmalade. Breaking news today, the jury finds President Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, guilty of 8 felony counts. The other 10 counts, the judge declared a mistrial. Now Manafort faces an estimated 7 to 9 years in prison. Charlie Chaplin shot one of his most famous films, The Tramp, right here in Niles with SNA Studios, which was one of the first film studios ever in California. Representatives from both political parties grilled U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions today on a number of key issues, including Democrats asking Sessions about his October statement saying he knew nothing about the communications between the Trump campaign and Russia.
5, 6, 7, 8.
In, Over, Around and Through is the name of Ohloni's spring dance production. The show's theme relates to the choices people make when obstacles are in their way. One of the performers, Noelle Wilder, is hard of hearing. Some may assume this is a barrier to dancing, but it hasn't stopped her.
Well, I've been dancing since I was about 3. I remember I grew up always dancing. Dancing's always been part of my life.
Noelle has 2 interpreters that work as a team to ensure she understands the verbal aspects of the class, in addition to the visual. However, signing and watching the instructor aren't the only ways that Noelle learns.
One of my older studios that I was dancing at, they had a speaker on the floor there. And so I was able to go up there and I was able to feel and touch the stereo myself, because if I couldn't figure out the count of the music, then I would just touch it. And then once I touched it, I was able to know.
In her hip-hop class, the speakers are hung from the ceiling, but this isn't an obstacle for Noelle.
It's very loud inside. There's lots of vibration in the class. I can feel it through the floors, but I trained my brain and my body to learn how to feel music more than just depend on my hearing.
Her hard work in this hip-hop class and other dance classes at Ohlone hasn't gone unnoticed.
I'm a student choreographer this semester. I'm the first deaf person to actually be a student choreographer here at Ohlone.
You're going to get a star drop behind you.
Noelle's first choreographed piece premieres tomorrow evening at the Smith Center. On the Ohlone campus in Fremont, I'm Eileen Street for Ohlone Network News.
Is it regular or irregular? Regular.
Identifying them, hiking next to them, and even dissecting them were some of the ways festival goers celebrated all of the wildflowers this past Sunday at the Sunol Ohlone Regional Wilderness Park. The park's naturalist for the past 26 years, Kat Taylor, said the beauties are in full bloom for another reason besides it just being spring.
We happen to be situated along the Calaveras Fault, where there's a lot of serpentinite outcrops. So serpentine is our state rock. And on those outcrops, we tend to get these really spectacular displays of native wildflowers.
Because serpentine is very rich in some minerals and very poor in others, it prevents non-native plants from growing, which allows the native wildflowers to fully bloom because nothing is getting in their way. The flowers are a spectacle, and you don't have to be a naturalist veteran to appreciate their beauty.
The color was bright and it was really pretty.
One Bay Area local only came to hike, not knowing that the area was blossoming with color.
Before we started the hike, we had heard the ranger mentioning to other people, it's just the beginning of the season, there's not so many wildflowers. And then it was actually surprising how many we already saw, and things like orange poppies, and then it's like a few purple ones that were like nice accents. Unfortunately, not too good to actually name like the specific type of wildflowers.
The wildflowers do have names, and they are just as wild, such as blue dick, pom-pom onion, and red maids. The beautiful display will be in bloom for a few more weeks at the regional park. After that, the weather will get hotter, and one will have to hike to higher elevations where it's cooler to see new patches of flowers blossoming. Enjoying the view in Sunol, I'm Eileen Street for Ohlone Network News. Washington is awash in noise. Sirens, construction, and politics. A blaring soundscape of everyday life. Blending with that symphony is Gallaudet University, the world's only bilingual liberal arts university for the deaf and hard of hearing. Less than 2 miles away from the capital, this university is like any other, with historic architecture, an exuberant mascot, and innovative research labs. But look a little closer and you'll notice what makes it unique. DC native Carrie Scurry-Burns and Trinidadian Chelsea Hilaire are 2018 graduates who chose Gallaudet because it was barrier-free for them.
Being that this is a deaf university, there's so much access for me here that I wouldn't have experienced at another hearing institution.
The university fosters accessibility with designs like U-shaped classrooms for signing discussions, walls that contrast with skin tones so signers don't blend into the background, and flashing light doorbells.
Being immersed in a deaf community allowed me to expand my skills. It'd be harder to do so with other people who aren't like me. So I was able to find my skills and my passion because of the opportunities afforded to me.
It's also very accessible for visitors.
Come in without using your voice for the entire time that you're here. Simply try to come and use gestures to be understood. You don't need to know sign language. You can simply gesture or even write back and forth with people.
The Welcome Center, Student Academic Center, and Museum are open to all who want to learn more about deaf culture. With cannons still booming in the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln signed Gallaudet's charter the same day the Senate passed the 13th Amendment, abolishing slavery.
And that was actually the first time in the history of the world in which deaf people were given access to a college education and a place of higher learning.
And the 1988 DPN protest, short for Deaf President Now, was pivotal.
For 124 years at that point, there had never been a deaf president on this campus. It was always run by a hearing individual.
And Gallaudet's impact echoes beyond the deaf community.
And it sort of served as a groundswell that led to other discussions among other groups about rights. And shortly thereafter, ADA was passed, the American with Disabilities Act.
Gallaudet was also influential in NASA's understanding of motion sickness in space. And on the gridiron, its football team invented the huddle to prevent opposing teams from seeing them sign their plays. Visitors will be impressed by timeless architecture and sculptures, like this one, that was created by the same artist who designed President Abraham Lincoln's memorial statue.
If you've never been to Gallaudet or even heard about Gallaudet before, you haven't seen one of the wonders of the world.
The campus may not be a typical tourist attraction, but Gallaudet University continues to make advances for both the deaf community and Washington, D.C.'s symphony, demonstrating that in a world of sound, this Washington wonder speaks volumes. For NBC News, I'm Eileen Street.